Now let's switch gears and talk about All Elite Wrestling because there was some news this week. Forbes did a big feature story on Tony Khan and the company, and we learned a few things. The company is in the red right now due to an 8-figure investment in their video game development, but Tony Khan expects the company to turn a profit by the end of the year. The Warner Media deal is their biggest revenue driver, although we already knew that. It's worth around $175 million through 2023. And Shad Khan, he didn't think that this would succeed. Maybe he still feels it might not succeed. But he didn't have high hopes for this when his son first came to him and said, hey, I want to start a wrestling company. But he told his son, and this is the quote of the week right here. Actually, this is a very appropriate quote for Father's Day. He told his son, look, when I'm dead and gone, I'm going to be leaving you and your sister a lot of money. Why don't you blow some of that while I'm alive? So not exactly a vote of confidence in this AEW thing. I would think maybe he's come around to the idea by now that he sees it's not a total flop. But I just thought that was a great quote timed for Father's Day. I'm going to be dead soon. I would love to see you and your sister just blow through all the money that I'm going to leave for you. AEW is bringing Dynamite to New York City for the first time on September 22nd for a show they're calling Dynamite Grand Slam. From Arthur Ashe Stadium in Flushing, Queens, home of my New York Mets. Citi Field is right there, right in the shadow. Arthur Ashe is a tennis stadium. It hosts the U.S. Open. This will be the first wrestling show ever to be hosted there. It has a capacity of almost 24,000. AEW, though, is setting it up for about 17. Now, I'm sure that if the demand is there, they could open up a few more seats. And they have a retractable roof, so if the weather is nice, they could open it up. Tickets go on sale July 16th. I would be shocked if they don't sell this thing out. First time ever in that venue. New York market coming out of this pandemic. They're going to pack that place in. Not a doubt in my mind. Tony Khan is crediting Raphael Morphy, AEW's director of live events, with making the deal happen. Apparently he's been the point person on this for the past 2 years. And Morphy used to work for WWE in the same role until 2012. I had some interactions with him after that. I don't remember if it was when he was working for Impact or for the New York Cosmos. I think it was the Cosmos. But in any event, he couldn't have been nicer. He's a very impressive guy, and he was a great pickup for AEW. So kudos to them for making this happen, and kudos to him. This could become their home base here in New York if all works out. You know, the way MSG, I was going to say the way MSG is, but really the way MSG used to be for WWE, and today the Barclays Center kind of is for them. This could be that for AEW. And they could actually get more people into Arthur Ashe than WWE can get into either of the other two buildings. They usually set those buildings up for less than the 17,000 that AEW is shooting for here. I mean, usually when they go to the Garden, I'm not even sure what the Garden capacity now even is. I mean, they've restructured that building so many times over the years. The old MSG, you can fit between 20 and 30,000. You can't get that many people in there now for a wrestling show in MSG. And the way WWE has the stages and everything, you'd be lucky if you get 15,000 people in that building. Barclays is about the same. So AEW potentially could just, every time they visit the venue, if they come back, could fit more people, in theory, than WWE could. WWE could in their respective buildings. I'm sure if WWE ever wanted to run Arthur Ashe Stadium, they would pack it in, no problem. But Tony Khan says he wants the show to be on par with other special Dynamites they've done, like Winter is Coming and Blood and Guts, and with them being in Queens. And after watching that video package on Dynamite this week with FTR and Santana and Ortiz, the answer about who should be the team to take the tag team titles from the Young Bucks is staring them right in the face. They didn't do it with Moxley and with Eddie Kingston, because I guess Moxley was going away. He was about to have a kid. Santana and Ortiz, have never held the AEW tag team titles before. In a lot of ways, I kind of look at them as a hidden gem in that company. And it sounds a little weird to say that because they're on television almost every week. They're part of the biggest faction in the company. But they've kind of, in a way, they've been hidden away with this Inner Circle stuff. They've never really had a proper run for themselves. And they're going to beat FTR. They're going to do that match soon. And then they're coming for the Bucks. And they're coming for those AEW tag team titles. And I think September 22nd in New York City is the perfect place to crown new tag team champions. Now, the week before that kicks off their big Northeast run. September 15th, they're going to be at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, which was supposed to host the Blood and Guts match last year before COVID ruined everything. The 22nd, as I mentioned, is the Queen's show. September 29th, the week after that, is the rescheduled show in Rochester, New York. They really should do something special for Brody Lee on that show. That was his hometown. That was the place where he was supposed to have made his AEW debut. That was the first COVID-canceled show last year. Maybe something involving the TNT title that he held, like an invitational or something where the winner earns the right to challenge for the TNT championship. It could be a battle royal. It could be a tournament. The Brody Lee TNT Invitational. I think that would be a cool thing to do. And then October 6th, my birthday, they'll be in Philadelphia. I didn't realize my birthday was on a Wednesday this year. So I guess we're doing a birthday stream on the YouTube channel this year. So SmackDown Friday night ended with a cage match, and Dynamite opened with one. I really liked the MMA cage fight between Wardlow and Jake Hager. I thought they did a very good job of making it look like a fight and just feel like a fight. Just like visually, they transformed the ring basically into an octagon. I used to like the Lions Den matches that WWE would do with Ken Shamrock, and there weren't very many of them. You do too many and the novelty wears off. If people want real MMA, yes, they will go watch real MMA. I do not want to see a fake MMA division where we get matches like this all the time. But it's okay to try something like this every now and then. The fact that Hager has the MMA background, they kind of played off that a little bit with him in Bellator. So that's fine. I have no issue with that. And so what they did here was they had 3 5-minute rounds. Jericho was Hager's corner man. Shawn Spears was the corner man for Wardlow. Wardlow even did this move where he kicked off the cage and landed a Superman punch. They worked wrestling spots in late in the fight, including Wardlow powerbombing Hager into the cage. He followed that up with a running Hurricane Rana, which, yes, looked ridiculous, but it's wrestling. I mean, they do ridiculous shit all the time. I'm not really surprised to see a Hurricane Rana in an MMA fight. Hager got the head and neck choke applied when Wardlow passed out, which gave Hager the win via the ref stoppage. I mean, you knew with Hager's MMA background, he's undefeated in his few fights that he's had. He wasn't going to lose here in this one. So the outcome was pretty predictable, but Spears attacked Hager after Jericho got involved, and that led to MJF running out and attacking Jericho's injured elbow. He put the Salt of the Earth armbar on when Dean Malenko ran in to pull MJF away from Jericho. And Dean Malenko was standing there. MJF looked like he was going to back away, but then he hauled off and he decked Dean Malenko, and Jim Ross was appalled on commentary. He hit a 60-year-old man with Parkinson's disease, he said. So wild. In the last couple of weeks, we've had, actually in the same week, what am I saying? Is in the same week, days apart, we had 67-year-old Ted DiBiase taking a flat back bump on television, and here we have 60-something-year-old Dean Malenko with Parkinson's taking a bump on TV as well. It's kind of strange. Strange timing on that. But Sammy Guevara ran out. He chased away MJF. The two of them are going to have a match. I believe they're saving it for the June 30th return of Dynamite to Wednesday night. Darby Allin told Sting to stay home this week, and that's what he did. There was no Sting to be found. Sting was sitting at home in his lazy boy with his chips and his salsa. He even painted his face because he can't help himself. To sit there and watch Darby Allin lose to Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. Darby fought from underneath, which he's great at doing. He's a great scrappy underdog. But the numbers were too much. This was a must-win for the heels. If Scorpio and Ethan Page, they lost at the pay-per-view, if they would have lost 2 against 1 in this match, then they're done. They're finished. There's nothing left for them to do. So they had to win this match, and they did. I did not like the Orange Cassidy-Cesar Bononi match. They did a spot where Bononi was outside the ring with all of his wingmen. That's what they call them, right? Him and Peter Avalon and J.D. Drake and Nick Nemeth. So they're all standing around and they're just posing and celebrating, but it's so hokey. Like, there's no reason for them to be out there doing this, and it's so obvious that they're just stalling for time until best friends in the ring can set up to launch Orange Cassidy out of the ring and out onto them so they could catch him. Now, we see this spot in wrestling all the time. We see this spot on Dynamite every fucking week. But this one here, this was just obnoxious. Killed the entire match for me. I fucking hated that spot. Jungle Boy was in the back. He was entering the building. He had his knapsack on. Kenny Omega, Don Callis, and Michael Nakazawa roll up in a golf cart. And Omega, there's no title. There's nothing. He's ready to throw down with Jungle Boy. He says, I'll even give you the first shot. I'll give you a freebie. And Jungle Boy goes to take the bait, but Nakazawa hits him from behind with his laptop. And Omega and Callis, they jump in the golf cart for the getaway. They will not let Nakazawa in. In fact, Omega pushes him away from the golf cart. He sacrificed Nakazawa, who got beaten up by Jungle Boy. This was their last big kind of promotional push before the AEW title match on Saturday night next week. Saturday Night Dynamite. It's going to be Kenny Omega defending the title against Jungle Boy. We had the debut of Brock Anderson, the son of Arn Anderson, tagging with Cody Rhodes against The Factory, QT Marshall, and Aaron Solo. By the way, Cody and Brandy had their baby this week. A baby girl by the name of Liberty. All I think about when I hear that is those stupid commercials. Liberty, 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 liberty. It's all I fucking hear in my head. How many fucking times can we see that commercial? So, Liberty is finally here. And of course, and the only appropriate response to this is, congratulations to the new parents. But every fucking tweet that I saw, oh my god, the poison in these comments. What a terrible name. Who comes up with a name like that? They should have done this. They should have named their baby that. Oh my god, the Cody hate was just, it was magnified this week, when the only response is simply, congrats. All good health to mother and child. I like this match. I thought that, first of all, it is uncanny. I said this last week. There is no paternity test needed to know who Brock Anderson's father is. Okay, he's a dead ringer for Arn Anderson. So he's got a very plain look, as his father did. But I thought he looked pretty good. He looked pretty solid, considering that this was his first televised match. And it was a tag team match, so they can kind of hide him away a little bit. He wasn't completely exposed in there one-on-one. But what we saw from him here, much like I thought what we saw at Double or Nothing with Anthony Ogogo, in what was his first real big match, there's definitely something there. They're very green. They're very inexperienced. And I question putting all of these guys at once on television, one right after the other. It's like Cody's trying to get these guys over. But, you do too many more of these, and all the names, they're just going to start to blend together, and nobody's going to really stand out. So that's one thing I think you have to be careful of here. But Cody tagged in Brock, and late in the match, and he was in there. He did have one sloppy-looking gut-wrench suplex to Aaron Solo, but QT took him down with a double-A spine buster, and he eyeballed Arn on the outside. QT went for crossroads on Brock, who countered into a DDT, and Cody got the hot tag. He ran wild for a little bit. This all built to Brock tagging back in and getting a jackknife pin on Aaron Solo for the win. Arn Anderson looked like a proud papa when this was over. One down, he said. One down, many more to come. Britt Baker was backstage with Rebel being interviewed by Tony Schiavone when Vickie Guerrero interrupted. She is not happy because she wants the title to come home to Nyla Rose. Baker and Rebel were not taking her seriously, and Vickie said, Tony Khan owes me a favor for bringing in Andrade El Idolo. And next week, it's going to be Britt and Rebel against Nyla and Vickie. Or will it? Or will it? Because we had a sit-down interview shortly after this with Jim Ross and the aforementioned Andrade El Idolo. JR was asking him, why AEW? And he said, AEW has many stars, but he is a superstar. And JR mentioned the AEW title, the TNT title. He assumed that they are on Andrade's radar. Andrade said he deserves opportunities for both belts. They had to use subtitles for a lot of this because his English is just not good. His English is really not that good. Ross asked him about his relationship with Vickie Guerrero, and he mentioned that she understands the business and talked about her lineage, right? He comes from a wrestling family. She was obviously part of a wrestling family. She married into one. And that's why they have such a great connection. But then he said that he and Vickie have a surprise. He didn't say what the surprise was or when we might find out what it is, only that they have a surprise. And right after this interview aired, Thea Trinidad tweeted the word, with a thinking face emoji. Now, she could just be trolling. She could just be fucking around. But I don't want to see Vickie Guerrero in the ring. Under any circumstances. Vickie Guerrero should not be wrestling ever. She did a few times in WWE. That was a few times too many. She has no business being in the ring. So I'm actually hoping for a swerve here. And I would like to see a Thea debut in her place. Or even better, a Thea debut where she ends up outsmarting Vickie and ends up replacing her as Andrade's manager. Because I am still not sold on this pairing between Andrade and Vickie. The one thing that was patently obvious from that promo is that his English is still not great. And until it gets better, he needs somebody to do at least some of the talking. He could say little, bits and pieces here. That's fine. But the majority of the talking for him should not be done by him. The majority of the talking for him should be done by somebody else. And I would much rather that be Thea Trinidad than Vickie Guerrero. If they can get her. Maybe they can't get her. Maybe Thea doesn't want to come in. Maybe she does have a contract with somebody else and Tony Khan's hands are tied. But if they can get her, there's absolutely no reason for them not to bring her in. Penelope Ford got a win over Julia Hart, who had the Varsity Blondes out there in her corner because she's part of their act now. And Penelope won with the Indian Deathlock, locked it on. She refused to let go. Finally, she did relinquish the hold. After the match, Miro walked out. He was asking Penelope where Kip Sabian is. And then he got in the ring. He threw Griff Garrison out of the ring. Brian Pillman Jr. hit a springboard move. The two of them had to be separated. And now they're going to have a TNT title match. I believe on June 30th. I think it's on the 30th. I think they're saving it for that first Wednesday show back, not the 26th. I could have the date wrong on that, but I think it's the 30th. We had the video package I mentioned before. A great video package for FTR and Santana and Ortiz. Just showing the different paths they've taken to where they are today in AEW. We had a backstage segment with Jade Cargill and Mark Sterling, her new manager, who announced their first partnership is with a hotel somewhere in Toronto. Might be the Four Seasons or something. She says her opponents can stay there when she knocks them out. Their discount code is that bitch. It's a lot cooler than my promo code for ExpressVPN. I'll say that much. Main event was Matt Jackson and the Good Brothers against Eddie Kingston, Penta El Cero Miedo, and Frankie Kazarian. Some good action here. Carl Anderson and Penta were the legal men left in the ring at the end. Penta hit a backstabber, went to the top rope, and Nick Jackson showed up, and he sprayed Penta in the eyes with that cold spray they use in every single match now. Anderson hit a top rope stun gun for the win. And that was how the show ended. Only one more preemption. No Dynamite on Wednesday. There's no Dynamite on Friday this week. Dynamite airs live on Saturday, and the good news is it's at 8 p.m. start time, not 10 p.m., which means that I will be live on YouTube on Saturday night after the show goes off the air. You're getting a Saturday night sound off. So you'll get a show on Saturday night, and then I'll be right back with episode 710 on Sunday.